Well, here we are. It's cocktail blog time again, and I have a request for a cocktail. Dr. Dave says I should be drinking an old-fashioned in a cocktail blog, so here we go. My first taste of an old-fashioned. Well, that's very good. I remember my parents used to drink these 60 years ago. Last night was a cold one. It got down to 7 degrees Celsius, which I believe is the mid-40s. There's always some wind in the afternoon here that usually dies down by the time darkness falls, so the telescope's not getting blown around, but it was cold. I was standing around in 2 shirts, a hoodie, and my full-on winter coat from Cincinnati. I was out till about 4 a.m. covering a couple of different targets. I was hoping I was going to be able to finish the Carina Nebula last night, but I got all of the red and half of the green, and I need to finish the green and do blue tonight, and then I'll have everything I need to work on that. And I'm really looking forward to that. After I was done with that, I picked a new target, something that was high in the sky that I could follow for a while. I picked the Cat's Paw Nebula right off the tail of Scorpio. And there was another thing right next to it that I wasn't aware of, NGC 6357, I believe. And they both actually fit in the frame of the camera. So I'm going to continue with that. I think I can probably finish that tonight. Another classic Southern Hemisphere object is the large star cluster Omega Centauri, which you can just barely see from South Carolina. It sort of pops up above the southern horizon for a few hours and then sets during a particular time of year. And I tried to get a shot of it while I was down at Winter Star Party in Florida in February, but it didn't really turn out. So now, way up in the sky, and I shot that up pretty good last night. The great thing about star clusters is you don't have to really soak the detector with them the way you do the nebula. So I was able to get 60 30 seconds exposures in white light and then 30-second exposures each of red, green, and blue, and that should be just fine. So I was looking forward to processing that, but my computer ran out of power back at the room, and I'm having power issues with the 110 versus 220 thing. I brought some converters, but one of them really seems to be terrible and screws up almost all the time. I had oryx for dinner last night. It tasted like beef. And the other night I had duck, and it tasted like chicken. So I'm not afraid of anything on the menu anymore. I put up a deep dive blog post for the first astro image that I published from here, the Lagoon Nebula. It's up on Facebook and came out very, very well, I thought. I didn't have any problem shooting it. The consistency from one exposure to the next, to the next, to the next is really, really good. The sky is not a problem. Everything is very steady. However, it's windy today, and it's expected to be windy for a couple of other days. So I ran into Norman, the general manager, in the hall, and he brought me to the office and says, "Is this yours?" And I said, "I think maybe it is." And he goes, "We found this rolling around the property." Well, yeah, sure enough it is. It used to be on there. It was really windy last night, and the scope, the cover blew off as well. So I need to come up with some better game for securing this stuff. Well, that's about it for Cocktail Blog. Going to get some dinner and head on up to the scope, finish off Carina and hopefully the Cat's Paw. We'll see you next time. Let's just see how dark it is here in Namibia. I've got my sky quality meter here, and we're just going to give this a spin and see what these numbers are. We're also, just for giggles, going to see that you can actually measure the brightness of the Milky Way with this thing. Okay, so it's pitch black out here, but I'm pointing this at a more or less blank place in the sky, away from the Milky Way. All right, and after it's done crunching, it gives me a number of 21.75, which is terrific. Now I'm going to point it at the Milky Way, a bright part of the Milky Way. Take another reading. 21.14. The higher the number, the darker. just measured the brightness of the Milky Way here.